Hey everyone, welcome back, and this is episode 14 of Writing Backwards podcast. I'm Jason Klink, your host, and this podcast is based on all of my years riding backwards in a fire truck, all my experiences, and a lot of my opinions. This podcast, I'm just trying to build a small community around this podcast, so if you would do me a favor and like, comment, and share it far and wide so as many people can see it as possible. I do this podcast on a weekly basis, just giving my perspective of 35 years in public safety, most of that in the fire service. And one of the things that has always been very true of life in the firehouse is the generations of firefighters and the generational influence that goes on from year to year and decade to decade. A decade can go by very quickly when you're in the firehouse. I remember when I first started working as a Department of Defense firefighter at military installations, I had one of the senior firefighters tell me, well, don't blink because 20 or 25 years and you'll be staring down retirement. I'm thinking at the time, yeah, that's a long way away. But realistically, thinking about it now, if I stayed with the Department of Defense as a firefighter, I could have retired at 48 years old 3 years ago. Those times go very fast. And in my volunteer firehouse, we used to joke and still joke about the third generations and fourth generations of firefighters. But there's something to be said about that. There's something to be said about the DNA imprint that happens from generation to generation and from fathers to sons or fathers to daughters that, pass on this desire to ride fire truck, to serve the community, to be a leader in the firehouse is really something that can't be replaced, and it's very hard to replace. Most generations of firefighters that go through the firehouse tend to pick up on the work and pick up on the culture and the fabric of the fire station quicker than those that come in that don't have that obligation to them of having family in the firehouse. Not to say that our firehouse family doesn't become our second family, and it's very easy to pass on that firefighting DNA from generation to generation, but there's something very specific, like I said, from fathers to sons and fathers to daughters. And with that, there's always this distinction or a lot of differentiators when you go from generation to generation. My generation of firefighters were influenced by those firefighters that started in the 1970s. And in a volunteer house, when they were running the firehouse, they would spend almost every waking moment in the fire station, working on the trucks, working on the station, going to calls, training. And at that time, there could be anywhere from 50 to 75 members of the firehouse at the station at any given time. And then you fast forward 35 years later, and a lot of volunteer firehouses are lucky to have 20 members of that fire station at any given time, and the generations may have dwindled off. The life in the firehouse, especially the volunteer firehouse, has gotten more difficult. The training has gotten more required than it used to be. And even in the career firehouses, there's still generations of firefighters that, that's all they knew when they were growing up. Their dad or their mom was working at the fire station, and they went to the fire station, and it was something that maybe was an impression on their mind that that's what they wanted to do when they grew up. I know several firefighters that their parents, one parent or another, was in the fire department, and they really decided that was their path based on those experiences with their parents. I can even remember, growing up in my life in the volunteer house where our fire dispatch center used to be in the fire station and going in and visiting the dispatchers. I remember all of the community activities. I remember the camaraderie and the brotherhood and sisterhood. I think we need to get back to that. I think we, as a fire service, need to get back to focusing on the community, focusing on our members, taking care of our membership. Because if we take care of our personnel, they will always take care of us. We should develop our next generation of leaders, especially if they are that third gen and fourth gen. They may have leadership qualities that we want to tap into in order to provide that legacy and build the leaders of the future. That's the only way, especially in the volunteer firehouses, that they will survive, that the legacies will survive. but the firehouse always knows how to adapt and overcome, and it will always survive. So I just wanted to share those thoughts today, something I've been thinking about, generations and generational, something I've been thinking about this week. But I'd love to hear your comments. Drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about generations in the firehouse and what it looked like for you if you were involved. And always like and share. And until next time, everybody, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and always be safe. Have a good day.